20-somethings who are either married or in committed relationships who say their unions are more secure and more honest because they don't believe in monogamy.
I just took off my clothes and I had to do it.
We're talking about swinging, or as it's known now, living in the lifestyle.
We're gonna have to give you some punani.
Technically, an orgy requires a minimum of 6 participants.
What about my three-way?
This is a new generation of swingers.
Waves of it coming at you on Friday, Saturday. By Sunday, your nuts gonna be drained.
Welcome everyone to Swingin' Around, episode 6.
I'm JB.
And I'm Cal.
So today we're going to be talking about kind of the next installment in the Let's Get Started intro into swinging chapter, and it's going to be setting your ground rules.
Yeah, the rules episode, which we knew we needed to get to. It's sort of the last obligatory topic that needed to be covered before we start going off and wild and crazy directions, talking about whatever we want to. But rules is rules with
is key.
We talked about jealousy last episode, and this episode is talking about rules, which you can't. They're kind of one and the same. We talked about the order, and we almost could have swapped out rules for jealousy and jealousy for rules. But first, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about last weekend.
Yeah, we went to a hot, sexy hotel takeover party in the hometown state. That was a lot of fun. It's nice when the party you go to is, if it's a hotel party, it's nice when they take over the entire hotel. So you don't have to worry about going in and out of portions of the hotel and what you look like. I mean, there's still, you want to maintain some decency if you're in the lobby area, just in case patrons walk in to try and rent a room, but otherwise, it's nice to be able to air your tits and your ass and not have to worry about them too much when you're going from your room down to the festivity locations and whatever.
Yeah, takeovers are really cool. I mean, we were checking in, and right behind the main hotel check-in area was just a giant booth for the advertising the club.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny. You can tell the newbies because one of the guys who was checking in before us was asking the hotel staff, just the regular person behind the counter, how much the fee was for the party, and she's like, I don't know, that's up to the club, I don't handle any of that, and it just kind of made me giggle a little, like, this is just the hotel you're paying for right now.
Yeah. This was the first time going to this particular club at this location. They had previously been at another location at a hotel, and then there was, from what we've heard, behind the scenes drama, and they ended up having to move to this new location. And I was a little disappointed in the hotel, but
the quality of the hotel wasn't great. But you know what? That's not why I'm there.
You don't go for the hotel amenities,
right? For
the most part. Yeah. And the party was fun. Everything was pretty fun. Although it was funny seeing all the stuff that was broken around the hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big complaint would be that the party was set up in the atrium around the pool and the hot tub, and the pool and the hot tub were shut down because some kind of chemical issue or whatever. So,
that huge portion,
kind of a bummer, but
that huge portion you couldn't use. And then the ice machine on our floor, and then
I think every other floor too.
Yeah, the door,
point.
the key didn't work for the doors to get outside, so then you had to prop it open with a pop can. And
hey, humans are adaptable. You make do. We go there to swing. We go there to fuck. We don't go there to stay in a luxurious atmosphere. As long as there's no hair in my bed, hair in my sink, or any other bodily fluids noticeably in places, if you hide it well, that's really all I care about. As long as I know that I've got clean sheets on my bed, I can take the comforter off. That's really what I need.
I mean, I completely agree, although it is nice to stay at a decent place, because it also feels like you're getting away. Like if you get a hotel room for the night, which we did, it feels like you're getting away for the weekend or getting away.
But I also like that we only had to pay $65 plus tax. I don't want to pay $120 for a night.
You get a little bit cheaper room, cheaper rates.
Right.
One of the interesting things, and we actually didn't even attend, but you could hear from our window was open, and they were having a few seminars that were going on.
Sexinars.
That's right. They call them sexinars that were going on.
This is on the Saturday of the weekend, because they usually do like a Friday party, and then you stay the night, and then they have some festivities during the day on Saturday to keep you in the sexy mood.
Yeah, and then...
And this time it seemed to be primarily bondage focused.
Yeah, they had a primarily bondage and kink seminar, and I know one of the interesting things that I saw was the homemade items, which I hadn't really thought about. I mean, I haven't given too much thought, to be honest, about homemaking and do-it-yourself sex toys.
Yeah.
But because those things usually just don't go hand in hand, I guess. But he was saying how he, for like $10, made a really good flogger. And
from afar, it looked like a really good flogger.
It did.
Actually.
It did.
It looked like a nice.
We were sitting a ways away because, like I said, we were.
Although I did see it
it was
closer
across
at
the
the
atrium,
after party,
and we only had our window open. We could hear it from there. But he just went to a thrift shop and bought a wooden dowel. It looked like, from what I could tell, probably about a half-inch thick.
Probably got that from a like do-it-yourself store.
Yeah, and then went to then went to either the same thrift shop or another thrift shop and bought just a leather jacket for $6 and covered the wooden dowel in the leather and cut portions of the jacket up to make the flogging, whatever
strips.
The flogging strips or whatever. We had just bought our first flogger not that long ago, so I was kind of intrigued about listening to how he made it.
Ours isn't a leather flogger. Ours is more of like a rubbery,
synthetic
I don't know. Flogger.
We bought it from
it's like a lighter,
the local sex shop around here, and
it's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it's fun. I actually haven't. I don't think I've told this story on the podcast yet, but I didn't even really we didn't really know that we enjoyed it. I mean, we've done light bondage and stuff in the bedroom. I would say it's nothing's ever been more than just light.
We've done the ball gag, the handcuffs, this like sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
And the
handcuffs. Did you
handcuffs
mention?
and leg cuff kind of thing. I like to be held down when you fuck me. Handcuffs are good, but I really like it when you just pin me.
Pin you with my hands.
That's
Sometimes
hot.
I hold your hands above your head.
Yep, that's really hot because you can fit both my wrists in one hand, so you can just hold me down, and you've got enough weight on me to really keep me from being able to move. And then if you put the ball gag in my mouth and I have no verbal release, there's nowhere for that sexual enjoyment and sexual pleasure to go but through my puss. I mean, it just intensifies everything. It's really hot. So, I mean, it's not something I want to do all the time, but on the occasion, yeah, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I agree.
It kind of brings out a little bit of the rape fantasy without it having to be rough and without you having to, manhandle me too much, because obviously it's very consensual between us, but it mimics a little bit of that inability to move, lack of control, but enjoyment.
The rape fantasy is a very common fantasy for women.
Yeah, I remember talking about it in college with some of my friends. One of my friends actually pretty closely acted it out with her partner, I think too much. So I don't know if they had a good safe word in mind or if they even discussed it, because afterwards, I know that she had a little bit of a psychological trauma following the act, but it was something that she was really into for a while.
You've talked about the story before, and they did not go about it the right way. I don't think that they were educated in terms of the play that they were the avenue they were going down. But going back to our introduction to the flogger was this past summer. We went to our first bigger house party. We've had one-on-one get-togethers with other couples and whatnot, but there's they hold parties a couple of times a month. But they just hold it at their house, and so it's a pretty big party, and it was our first one. We'd never really been to a house party, and we went, and they have a really cool, their house is just like a swinger house. It's really cool, and upstairs in their living room, they put was it inflatable bed or just?
I don't know. It was a bed in the
I thought it was a real
living
bed,
room.
But then you brought up that you thought
it might have been inflatable. It doesn't really matter.
But it's part of the story.
It was a bed in the middle of their living room surrounded by couches.
Yeah. And it was surrounded by couches, so then you can just sit on the couch and watch people fuck. So we were on the couch fucking, and then a woman just comes up with a flogger from behind me and just says, "Is this okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And so she starts whipping not too hard, and then what was really cool, I remember, was some of the flogs or whatever you call those the little strips that would like wrapped around and got my balls a little bit. Like
Yeah,
so.
I discovered you do like a little bit of ball whippage. Because I started doing that a little bit. Not too much, just a little light ball tappage. And I'm actually a little...
Tappage?
Tappage. Tappage, it's a new word. And I'm a little timid about it because I think that your threshold for pain initially was higher than I was willing to hit you for fear of causing you too much pain. But
I don't like much. I mean, it's not that much. I mean, I like a little bit.
no,
but
you're definitely not into cock and ball torture.
no, I think it's kind of like your nipples. It goes from nice to whoa.
Yeah,
Way too much.
my nips are either I can barely feel that you're doing anything or it's way too much. I don't really have... There's a very, very narrow window of happy medium when you're playing with my nipples. And lately they've been more sensitive than ever, so there's even less of a happy medium. I mean, you managed to find it.
But
Or I smack you, you know.
it wasn't even that long ago either that I learned that, well, maybe probably a couple years ago now, that I discovered that I like my balls to be stretched a little bit, which
You
is
do.
kind of
You
weird.
like a good hard smack to the ass, and you like me to scratch your back when we're fucking. You like,
but the
you-
ball
you
but
like
the ball
a little
sack
bit of
stretch
pain.
is a little weird. Not weird. I just didn't. I don't
know.
That came out of the blue.
I've
I didn't know
never
that
really
was,
looked into it. I doubt it's weird.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but I know I like it. I mean, you cannot not pull too far. But
Yeah,
a
that's
little
another
bit.
thing that I'm like, really? They're gonna sag eventually anyway. Am I just making it worse for when you're in your 50s and 60s by stretching it out? It's like
Yeah.
they tell women, you know, when you put on makeup to always apply using an upward motion and not with gravity because gravity's already pulling your skin down. And I think of that. I'm like,
I've
am I
never
just
even heard of
am
that.
I just stretching his balls even more so that he's gonna really have saggy balls when we're older?
I know I like it when you're riding me on top, and then you're riding and you do
And
you
I
do
reach
the
behind.
around, and you
Yep.
play with the balls, but then you
Maybe even a little hello to the back door. A little pressure there.
Oh yeah,
You enjoy that too.
a little bit, yeah, I do.
Nothing to be ashamed of. So another thing that came up at the party a little bit it was a little bit of an issue for us. Maybe not so much an issue, but it turned out to be a middle of the evening discussion point for us. Was that there's another couple that was pursuing us, and the female was reasonably attractive. I wouldn't put her on Cal's super sexy list, but she was reasonably attractive. But her man, I just was not attracted to at all. They were a nice couple. They were fun to talk to. I didn't mind talking to them, even a little bit of flirtation. But I knew early in the evening after meeting this couple that this was the guy was somebody that I did not want to swing with.
Well, I knew he wasn't. I also knew he wasn't your type. I mean, we had exchanged a few emails prior to the party, and we went up for some drinks in their in their room.
Yep. And from the pictures
And I
that
knew
they
when
sent,
we walked in the room. Unfortunately, I mean, he just wasn't your type.
yeah, and from the pictures that they sent, it was hard to tell. I mean, they sent updated pictures, but it just was maybe from the angle or the lighting or just the distance that the camera shot was taken. It was really hard to tell. But in meeting them, I knew this is not a couple that I would particularly care to swing with. And we do have the rule that we swing together as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is same room, and if he's busy with getting down with someone, I'm either getting down with him or I'm getting down with the other person. We don't. I'm not much of a watcher while my man is doing something and vice versa, unless it's just, for a little bit, but it's not going to be for the entire play session. So as the evening progresses and the drinks are flowing, towards the end of the night, the dance music's playing and we're sitting at the table just kind of taking a break, and they call us over to start dancing. And I didn't put two and two together. They were calling us over to do a little swap dancing.
I actually didn't get that either at first.
I didn't. I thought we were going to dance with each other.
I agree.
But when we went out on the dance floor, they immediately separated us in a swap dancing scenario. And I'm not a homophobe to dancing. I like dancing, and we were dancing just fine. But then the DJ starts playing the Al Green "Let's Get It On" song, or some version thereof. I think that was a song, but if not, it was some Al Green song or some colloquial, slow, sexy song. And of course, that's when the guy thinks it's time for me to make my move on Miss JB over here. And he is trying his damnedest to kiss me, and I just did not want to do it.
Well, I think the pressure was there too because me and the girl from the couple we have been doing a little bit of kissing.
Yep.
And so.
And I think he saw that and was like, well, there's my go ahead. And I did everything under the sun to try and avoid it, and he ended up pretty substantially making out with my neck and playing with my ear, and eventually I managed to get away from him. But that led Cal and I down the road of discussing, I wish you hadn't even kissed that woman, because then I wouldn't have had to spend 5 to 10 minutes of my night trying to get this guy off me. So I felt a little bit like I took one for the team.
And then,
I mean, it wasn't extreme. We didn't have sex or anything like that. The guy wasn't he wasn't forceful in any way, but it was just not an enjoyable experience for me. And I think it was perpetuated or brought on by Cal making out with this other woman, with his wife.
There was a few, it was just a good point of a really good moment for us to stop and communicate with each other, because we had gone back to the room to get some drinks. We were talking about it, and there was some not miscommunication, but after we had met with them for drinks earlier, and we both acknowledged that we didn't really want to play with them, and you're like, but she's got some pretty good tits, and then she's like, I
acknowledged that I would be comfortable with him sucking on one of the tits, but I didn't think that meant you guys can make out, and I definitely didn't put 2 and 2 together that, if the husband sees the wife kissing, he's going to try to do the same to me. I didn't even consider that, and I should have.
So, but I mean, you recognize that she had some pretty good tits, and
she did. So I didn't want you to hold back from the tits, but I didn't want to swing. So
in my mind,
if for some reason, let's say the tits were out, the husband was sucking on one and the other one was out, or a woman was sucking on one, if the situation presented itself for you to suck a tit, I would have been okay with that.
But the thing is, like we talked about, I don't know a scenario where that
I just named one.
But what, just on the dance floor?
Even sitting at our table. It's been known to happen. I've seen it. I've seen
but if I go
girl on girl where one woman just whips out a tit and another guy gets out the other tit, and you got one on lefty and one on righty.
If she's okay with it and I go over to her, I feel like it's a lot of give and take. I mean, so that almost opens up the door
for him to do the same
for him
to
do
me.
to you, or at least to see if it's okay with you, and it still puts you in an awkward situation.
So it ended up leading us down the road of, it's best for us and for how we have our rules set, that if both people aren't attracted to the other person, just nothing's going to go down with either one of them. That was the road we ended up going down. That
right now, that's what we want to do.
In order for me to not feel like I was taking one for the team, it would have been better had you done nothing with the other woman.
The way a man's mind works, or at least the way mine works, is that, she said if a scenario presented itself where there'd be the opportunity to play with some tits, okay, so this is a opportunity for some kissing, and kissing is definitely on a lower level than playing with tits. And so I was like, so I went in.
I was never angry or jealous, or I didn't have a problem with you kissing her. The problem was it made him want to kiss me. It put me in an awkward position.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's, at least with this couple, it's impossible for you to kiss her and him not want to kiss me. So it would have been better just for you to not have kissed her at all.
But I was happy with how we were able to just in the middle of the party take a break. And I mean, we didn't take a break
were
on
going
purpose.
up to the room to get drinks.
Yeah, we weren't taking a break on purpose, but we had taken a break. We were away from the party for a minute, so it was a good time to have a discussion. So we took 5 minutes to discuss the scenario.
I think I brought it up and said, I want to talk about what happened down at the party. Here's what happened with me. Here's what you were doing. Here's how I felt. We didn't argue. We didn't, the whole rest of the night was fine. It didn't sour our night at all, because we were open and honest with each other. And that leads into the ground rules a little bit, too. Yeah. Because it all comes back to how we've set our rules and how we evaluate them.
We actually didn't even end up playing with anyone beyond that interaction. Well, I take that back. There was another couple who's was really cool that we danced with, and there was a little bit of kissing that went on. But we actually didn't end up ending back up in the playroom with anybody, just ourselves.
The playroom itself was...
That was okay with me, because
playroom.
We hadn't been to a party with a playroom in a while, and I realized
setup.
that I like a playroom where there's a bunch of people in it. There's a lot of the sex chairs, and
there's oral. There's regular sex. There's everything.
Because I don't mind watching, but I'm not the biggest voyeur, and neither are you. We've learned that we're not the biggest voyeurs.
I actually get a little uncomfortable after a little while. For too long.
After a few seconds. I mean, I can't watch for more than 30 seconds when you feel like...
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this is watching a little too long, but I think both of us really like to be watched.
I never want to be the perv. And that's the thing, is people at those parties, you're not the perv. If watching's your thing...
Yeah, you're not.
You're not, but
there's still
I just have that stigma in my head.
There still is that inherent... you're just sitting there
bit.
watching.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that the people who are doing stuff are doing it to be watched because that's what we love to be watched.
At the same time, if one person's just like staring, you don't want to have like the stare face where your eyes like glaze over. You don't want to be that person.
But it was like I just plop you down on the couch and
Had your way with me.
fuck you, and it's so much fun. I love watching. And then there was a few people who we had talked to throughout the night walked by and just look at you fucking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're just
it's hot.
They're just being watched gets us going.
Well, that and I think being alongside other couples that are fucking too, because you feed off of each other's energy. You hear the woman moaning, and it almost makes you moan a little more. And
oh yeah.
Not in competition, but just in tandem. Just like I'm feeling your pleasure and you're feeling mine in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You feed off the energy and the vibe in the room.
But yeah, and after parties have a thing that are it's interesting because people are walking around. Nobody's there. Like not everybody is in the room specifically to have sex. Some people are still just milling around,
still mingling.
Just mingling. Party.
Mm-hmm.
They still had a dance floor in this area, so people were still dancing. Oh, they had the
they had a
like
station
spanking.
set up, a spank station. Yeah,
the spank station.
Yeah.
And that was hot.
They handcuff your hands
I
above
believe
your
it was
head.
the same guy who was running the seminar.
Yes, it was.
And
that's where I got
his partner was there.
I did get to see a little bit more close-up version of the flogger when they were flogging one of our friends.
Oh, I didn't even make the connection that the flogger he was using was the one that he showed because
it was,
because we saw the one from so far away because we saw it from our hotel room window.
Yeah, it was the same one. Yep.
Okay. I didn't even make that connection.
Yep. One of the other things that I thought was interesting about this party is they had the usual dance poles set up with people dancing on them. And at one point, a guy gets up there and starts dancing, just kind of walking around it a little bit. And the DJ took notice and was like, you guys got to give it a hand to this guy and whatever. And so he starts playing some kind of special music for the guy. And the guy starts getting into it a little bit more and stripping, and he unbuttons his shirt, and then he unbuttons his pants, and then his pants come down, and he does some moves swinging around on the pole, and he's winking at all the women, and they're hollering at him. And then it kind of ends, and I thought he looked a little embarrassed. I thought, oh man, that guy just got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But then as the night went on, I never saw him with the same specific woman, and I saw him go back to that same pole 3 or 4 or 5 times throughout the night. I never saw him with his pants fully buttoned again. They were always down. You could always see his underwear. And I quickly realized this guy is a man toy. He was there to whore himself out with the ladies. And I even saw him at the after party walking around.
I don't know if he was there with
I
a primary
think he was a
partner.
manicorn.
I don't know if he was there with a primary partner or if he wasn't, but that was, yeah.
Yeah, I had never seen that before because he wasn't your typical, like, single male. He was decent looking. I think he thought his body was a little bit better than it actually was. The guy could have stood to lose another 10 pounds, don't get me wrong. But he was still decently attractive. But it was different. I'd never seen that before because he wasn't like the man whore who's up there hitting on all the women. All the women were hitting on him. It was the exact tables were turned opposite. So that's why I really think he was like a manicorn, a unicorn.
Yeah.
In man form. So
it was
different.
it was funny to see too.
Yeah.
So anything else about the weekend?
I think that's pretty good for the weekend. There's one other thing about emails that I think I'll save for another episode because we don't have to talk about it today.
Oh, no, just the short emails?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, we got an email from a couple, not that, and we've heard other complaints from other people about this where sometimes you just get those super, super short emails and you're just like, really? You're not going to write anything longer than...
One of the couples we were talking to said they got an email that said, we live near you, and that was it.
That was it.
And apparently their profile was equally vague, and that was it. So, to me, if you're not going to put the effort in to say why you're emailing me, what you're interested in...
Or even to sign your names.
Yeah.
Or to let us know that you're a genuine person. I mean, this couple, I looked at their profile, they seemed cool. All they said to us was, hi there, which, hi there can be
that could be like a poke on Facebook.
That could be kind of playful, exact. I mean...
We'll see what they respond with. If it's another 2 or 3 word answer, they're out of my book.
Yeah. I mean, hi there could be just a playful, fun email, but it brings up the point about short emails. I mean, especially the one just, we live near you. That is just straight up booty call.
We saw your picture, let's fuck.
Yeah. We liked what we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bang.
And apparently the couple who received that email, they were saying that they responded with a few sentences back about a little bit about themselves and maybe we can meet up or whatever, and they got essentially the same response again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was another short couple word type response. It wasn't anything of substance, so they were like, well, screw that.
Yeah, that's...
Put some effort into it. No,
a little bit of effort.
I understand people have lives and there's other things going on, but come on, you're dating people. That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Swinging is dating.
Yeah.
It takes work.
Let people know you're interested. Just send something genuine. I mean, I can kind of understand the hi there that we got.
Yeah.
Just as a
I forgive that one. It's a
flirtatious.
Yep.
But we just heard other stories, and I mean it goes back to our episode on profile etiquette and responding to people. You just want to know that people are genuine and that it isn't just a meat mark. I mean, everybody's there, everybody's on here, and everybody wants sexual attraction, but you don't want to just be like, hey, let's fuck. I mean, maybe you do, but we don't.
And there are couples that are aggressive like that, and some people like that. But I think the majority, I think I can say this pretty easily in stereotyping and saying, I think the majority of the community wants to date a little, have that initial contact and talk. Yeah. And that reminds me, we did have some of our loyal listeners requested an episode about dating etiquette. So I think we'll end up making an episode more along those lines, or what to do on a first date or something at some point too, to address this a little bit more in depth.
That'll be one of our future episodes coming up.
Yep.
So I think that's a good point to segue into talking about rules.
Yeah, let's go. Rules. Rules aren't a bad thing. I don't want to go into this with people thinking it's a bad thing. I think rules are actually a very good thing.
Well, no, they're a necessary thing.
Absolutely. And, it reminds me of they say a lot that children need boundaries, and without them, they're just going to push you because they don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed. These rules are essentially the same thing. People need boundaries. Not to say that without them you're going to push, but without rules and without knowing where your partner stands, you're either not going to go as far as makes you happy because you're not sure what's going to make your partner uncomfortable, so you're going to hold yourself back, or you're going to go too far, and then your partner's going to be uncomfortable. Either way, somebody's going to be unhappy, whether it be you or your partner, and if you or your partner's unhappy, you're both unhappy.
Exactly, and I think, but I agree, but I would say that for the most part is when you're first getting into swinging, I feel like you should be more concerned with, or for the most people, you should be more concerned with making sure both people you and your spouse, you and your partner are both comfortable. So I would say and that's where the rules come in, because it's kind of getting your feet wet. Like, what are we comfortable with here?
And I think when you're setting up your rules, you need to be very self-preservative. I think it's very much about self-preservation.
Well, couple preservation.
What do I need to do to make sure that I feel comfortable? What am I comfortable with my partner doing? Because if you're mindful too much of what your partner wants to do, you might actually be like, well, I don't want to hold my partner back, so I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with kissing, but I know he really wants to kiss other women, so I'm going to say it's okay. That's not cool. Like, you need to be honest with yourself about what your comfort level is, even if that means that you need to restrict your partner a little bit more in the start.
And I can tell that you're coming, I don't know, I feel that's like the female answer, I guess, and I would say from the male answer that you do need to worry more about your partner and yourself, because you got to make sure if you want you.
I guess I'm just saying, don't compromise your own comfort for your partner's need to be with other people.
But I would say that if you want to keep swinging to continue and everybody comfortable, at first you might need to compromise your comfort and do less than you want, so your partner's comfortable.
Yeah, what I'm saying is don't compromise your morals so that your partner's doing more than you want. Don't let your partner do more than you're comfortable with.
Yeah,
you might have to hold back. We're saying the same thing.
Just, I feel like you're saying it from the
girl
view, who I feel
make
like
sure you don't end up
very
being
common
jealous.
to worry about. How
Absolutely.
much is he? And then the guy is like, I don't want to do more than she wants.
Yeah.
So
and it's. it's classically the male and the female who assume those roles, but that could easily be switched. I think it's fair to say that when most couples decide to start swinging, one couple is more reserved, and one couple
You mean
is
one
couple, one person in the couple is more reserved, and the other person in the couple is not necessarily more into it, but more looking forward to the swinging, I guess,
and
part of it. And
that's
so
very common.
the more reserved person needs to not sacrifice their comfort, and the less reserved person needs to go at the more reserved person's pace. So you need to go at the slowest pace.
You have to go at the slowest person's pace if you want to continue, because if you push too fast,
it took me too long to get to that conclusion.
But if you push too fast and too hard, something's gonna happen where somebody's gonna get upset with you, and then it could blow up.
Yep.
And whereas if you just take your patience and inch together, and doing what's each person's comfortable, and that is where the rules really come in.
So it might be a bit of a sacrifice for someone at the start to not be moving as quickly as they'd like to, but that's how it goes, and you just have to be understanding and open with each other. And the person who's less comfortable needs to not feel bad about that. I think that's an important key. But at the same time, the person who is less comfortable needs to work to understand why are they less comfortable and how can they change that.
Yes.
Because if you're not making an effort for your partner to become comfortable, or if you're not making an effort to understand where your discomfort is, then you're never going to grow. And eventually your partner's just going to be, well, screw you.
And, I mean, that goes back to the self-introspection that we talked about. I don't remember what episode it was, but a little while ago, where you really got to...
It was last episode.
It would make sense to talk about it during jealousy, but you really got to look inside yourself and say, what am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with? Why am I not comfortable with this? And working towards that.
Yeah.
And that is... I mean, that's why we could have done the jealousy episode after this one, because...
And if you're like...
The rules are a lot of times primarily put in place so that to help curb jealousy.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. I think going a step further would make me jealous.
Yep.
Let's do this. See how I feel.
Yep.
And then you slowly, you inchworm to that.
And that's where, if you're a new swinger, you're kind of at the point where you're like, well, I don't know if I will or won't be comfortable with something.
Mm-hmm.
I say that that's not entirely true. I think deep down inside, you have some idea of what you will and will not be comfortable with. Just thinking about it, just picturing it in your head. Now, in reality, you could be completely wrong, but I think you initially have some idea of where your comfort is. When we first started swinging, I was not comfortable and knew I would not be comfortable seeing you screw another woman. But I thought I would be okay with a blowjob, but I wasn't sure, and so I said, let's not go there yet. Let's just do same room sex, and then we'll move towards the blowjob.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm completely fine with it. But I wasn't sure, and so we had to move slowly towards that, where it started with, well, what if another woman had her hands on his cock? Let's see that. What if another woman is playing with his balls? Let's see her maybe do one or two bobs. And that slowly turned in, and that might have been over the course of one evening that turned into a blowjob.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because it sounds very academic. Like, let's see how a couple of bobs looks. And,
you kind of need to inch that way, though.
You do need to. I mean, for a guy, it's not like, oh, let me see how many licks she gets. It's
well,
how many
it
licks
could be
to the center. But
not very many for me.
But
you get to my Tootsie Pop quick.
But, yeah, I mean, I knew when we first started that I wasn't, we were both on the same page that neither one of us wanted to see the other person fuck somebody else.
Yep.
And
I wasn't entirely sure why. I don't think in the beginning you were either. It was in my heart of hearts, I do not want to see that happen. But the why didn't come to us for a little while later.
Yeah, we've had a lot of long discussions about
I would
sex and
bet that a bunch of people, that any newbies out there would be similar, where it's, I know I'm not going to be comfortable with this. I just, in my heart, I know that if I saw that, I would immediately want to smack that bitch and throw that hoe on the floor. But you might not know why, other than that's my man, get the fuck off him, or this is a monogamous marriage and I'm a good Catholic girl. And you need to get over it. But it takes time.
It takes time, and you really have to talk and understand and try to really think, why does this bother me? And I mean, talking specifically about soft swap and full swap, that might be something for another episode. But I mean, we haven't done it yet, but we've recently decided that we've got to the point where we both would be okay with full swap. We think,
but same room,
of course. Right now, we're again inchworm, and right now neither one of us even sees. And we never
discussed, does it have to be full swap, same couple? Or could it be, I'm with a woman, Freudian slip there, I'm with a man, you're with a woman, but they're not necessarily a couple.
You know, I hadn't even
thought of that.
I hadn't even thought about that because I can't.
I don't know the scenario.
Quite the party.
It would be a six-some, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well,
or a more than that.
I mean, that would be if that's the scenario, then that's going to be like probably the opportunity is there for not only
probably multiple partners.
Yeah, so
like me and you and a couple of other couples, so there's opportunity for other partners.
Yeah, I mean,
too.
if that's a scenario, then there's going to be like multiple people.
That sounds fucking hot.
It is a really hot scene because I actually can't picture. Well, I mean, I could picture them, but I can't picture a realistic scenario.
We were in a scenario like that at the last house party.
No, what I'm saying
though
is where there's only there isn't the opportunity
when there
for
aren't
multiple
significant
partners.
others there too. Yeah,
you're with one male and I'm with the female, and
well, unless we were like dating and it wasn't in the swinger realm or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we hadn't talked about that. But I think
I'd be okay with
maybe
that.
A full episode. Yeah, I think so too. But I think, not veering too much off into specifically soft swap versus full swap, I think it might be a good opportunity for us to have a full episode, a full topic on our discussions, what we went through,
and I would even say to start at same room, moving to soft swap, moving to full swap.
Well, no,
we didn't go from it didn't take us long to go from same room to soft swap, but there was a transition there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I want to talk about all of that during rules, but I mean specifically a long-term. Well, not long-term, but a full topic specifically to our discussions, what we've had about, because that was the biggest hurdle to get through and
and I don't know if I would even call it a hurdle.
Yeah, it's not a hurdle per se because it's not.
It's just the biggest rule change, change within the lifestyle. Well, you might be hearing our dogs in the background there. They're having their own little romp.
They are.
He's going after his pussy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so back to ground rules a little bit. I think we've talked about, okay, you've set them up, you've sat down, you have the conversation. What do you do now? Well, you try it out. I know it sounds obvious, but I mean, you set these rules, you need to try them. And when you set the rules, I think you need to have a balance, or at least for us, it works to have a balance between broad rules and specific rules.
Now, what's an example of a broad rule? Because
broad
most
rule
of the time
is
it's the specific rules that you think about, like
a broad rule is same room. In general, a broad rule is no taking one for the team. I think those are pretty broad. A specific,
not a general act, just we're going to be in the same room.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Okay.
And to me, a specific rule is no swinging with anyone under the age of 35 with no kids or something. I mean, that's not a rule, but
I mean, even more
something where you have to break it down.
No, here's an even more.
No kissing with tongue for more than 10 seconds.
That's what I was going to say. Like using our example, like that's a very specific rule that we don't necessarily prescribe to anymore, but there was a point where it's about keeping an emotional distance for us, which we've mentioned before, which swinging is, we don't want to be emotionally attached to another couple.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we like to have acquaintances in the lifestyle.
I mean, we're the old school swinger where we kind of want to swing. And
we want the sex, wham bam, thank you ma'am.
And we'd like,
or a woman, or
it's
a man.
weird because we would like friendships in the lifestyle, and we do have friends, people who we consider to be friends, but at the same time, I feel like you want to keep them a little bit at a distance. Or at least that's us.
Well, I don't want them to know my vanilla life. I don't want them to know anyone from any of my vanilla friends. Those it's oil and water. I don't want them to mix. And they're people that I'll hang out with in the social setting of the swinger environment. So if I have them at my house, it's under the pretense of some kind of swinging, swapping environment. I'm not going to have them over just for a beer to watch the Super Bowl unless we're getting down during halftime.
I mean, and I think that's where I differ a little bit because, I don't know, it's weird. Like, when I say I don't want to be emotionally connected, I want to keep people at a distance, that's one thing. But then when I actually think, like, if we met people who were cool enough that we just wanted to have over to watch the football game and nothing actually happened,
it would be okay.
Like when I describe each of those scenarios independently, those sound fine.
I guess when I think about the conversations that we have with those people, though, the conversations never really get to anything more in depth than your typical small talk. The weather, your jobs,
exactly. I feel
other swinging situations, but you never really delve into anything deep and personal, and that I'm okay with.
Well, and I think part of it too, and this is, I guess we're veering a little bit away from rules, but that's okay. I think part of it is that because in that scenario, it truly is friends with benefits, and we haven't experienced that, so that is kind of the unknown, and we can't. It's difficult for us to picture that scenario where you have, because we haven't
really found a couple that we've gotten along with that well that I've thought, I want to continue to just be friends with these people as friends.
Yeah, you like to, you'd
I
call.
mean, there was one couple of parties ago that we got along with real well, but we haven't had our schedules click
we haven't
in a while since then, so I could see the potential there, but I'm not rooting for it. If if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
And I think our tune could change if we met if we meet a couple who's really cool that we want to hang out with, but just it's hard to imagine when you don't have that. It's hard to imagine having, because we have vanilla friends, and you have people that we swing with, and it's hard to imagine those worlds colliding. Where now I would consider them a friend, because an actual.
Well, you might consider them an actual friend, but I still don't know that I'd want them mixing with vanilla friends, just because of the awkward secret you have to keep. And how did you meet? Or just things like that.
I think we can overcome that. I think part of our view, and I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit because I still hold those views with you, but I think it's because we really haven't experienced it yet. I have to recognize
part
that.
Part of it might be too that we don't have a ton of friends, just in general. You and I don't have a ton of friends.
Yeah,
we have a few
we're pretty private
friends,
people.
But we're pretty private people in general. But when that kind of couple comes along that you click with, you need to hold on to that, because at least for us, it doesn't happen often.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why.
So I understand that, but let's get back to ground rules.
Well, okay. So what do we have?
So we were talking about test your rules. Go to a party. Go to have people over. Do whatever you need to do. Whatever's the next step. But I think after you set your rules, it's important to test them. And by test them, I don't mean break them and see how your partner is.
Yeah, don't break them. But do them. See how you feel. If it's
and evaluate if you think you could do more or want to do more. You have to think about how horny was I at the time, and did I think, man, I'd really like to fuck this guy, but I wish I could.
You probably don't want to do that. I mean, there's always everything we say. There's going to be a couple who fits what I say don't do. Where the right thing for them.
Everybody's different.
The right thing for them is to do that. But I think for the most part, you don't want to test that. If you have rules and you go to a party, if in that moment, even if both of you say yes, let's fuck this couple, when that's a rule you said you didn't want to do, it's probably best to hold off and discuss that.
Which is easier said than done, because when you're horny, you're horny. I mean, when you got a cock right up there in your face, and you're not supposed to suck it, and that's what you want to do, it's hard. And the cock is hard. It's just a hard situation in general. It's hot.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but that's where it comes to being an adult and having restraint and respect for your partner. If your partner has asked you not to do something, you really need to have that respect and self-control to not do it.
And it's not just always your partner. It might be that you outside of this scenario, you truly feel like, I actually don't think I want to go further than this. But then, in that scenario, you're like, this is so
you might
hot,
not be comfortable
I just want
to
keep going further. And you
just don't do something you'll regret.
Exactly. You don't want to break your own rules for yourself.
And use condoms.
You don't want to break your own rules to make your partner uncomfortable.
Yeah.
A happy partner, I mean, what is that old marriage adage? Like a happy wife is a happy life. Like a happy partner is a happy...
Ain't that the truth?
A happy partner, I don't know. We need to make one up that fits for swinging, where
we'll think of something.
As long as each person in the
relationship
needs to be happy.
And that's where I was thinking about this. Not all rules have to be even. I know for the most part ours are, but I don't think that's going to work for all couples.
Oh, absolutely not.
And we've talked to couples like this where the woman's allowed to play with other women, but the guy is not allowed to play with other women, for example.
Well, actually,
the woman's not allowed to play with other men. Like, we were just talking to a couple like that the other day. The only thing that was allowed was she could play with other women.
Well, sometimes
and he could play with her, but that was it.
Girl on girl is often still considered to be, I think even SLS defines, or like the lifestyle interval, I think defines girl on girl as soft swap.
Yeah.
I don't actually agree with that. To me, soft swap.
Yeah, I am on the same page.
I think it's quite. I think that's pretty common though to still be considered. But
I guess they just need a name for it.
But it would be incongruous rules between the two, where one person's allowed to do something. I mean, regardless of the sex. And that's gonna work
happen.
for couples. That I don't think we have any rules where that is.
No,
applicable.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do. But I can imagine that there's couples out there where one person is allowed to kiss someone and the other one isn't, or whatever. Because it all comes back to comfort and what both partners are comfortable with.
And then, like we said, after you should reevaluate. You should, after you have a night and you've done some swinging, you swapped with a couple. You should, or
you haven't swapped.
Well,
Maybe you just had same room sex. Maybe you did nothing.
Regardless of what you did,
whatever happened.
Regardless of what you did, you should evaluate what you actually did do and think, was this enough? And
the evaluation needs to be soon thereafter. It's not 2-3 days later. It needs to be the following morning. It needs to be immediate while it's fresh in your head.
You really need to think about it yourself and with your partner.
And have that reclamation sex, too.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you have the next day morning sex, have a good fuck, then talk. Because that next day sex is some of the best sex you could ever ask for.
You still have the high from the
In fact, I would argue that that's, in a lot of cases, at least for me, maybe not for you, but for me, and this most recent party was definitely one of them, the next day after sex the orgasm was more enjoyable for me than it was when we were on the couch in the party. No, I mean, it was still good sex, don't get me wrong, but I think you just focused more on me and could really deliver to me.
Well, I could see that.
As opposed to when we were at the party and there's a lot going on. And
For me, we hadn't had a bigger party in a while where there was a bunch of couples, tons of couples watching and mingling and just fucking around everybody. We hadn't had that in a while, so because we have had more one-on-ones, and so that was a scenario that we hadn't had in a while, and so that was
pretty hot.
That was pretty hot. That was really hot for me. Yep. So I would.
You're more front and center when we're fucking. I mean, I'm laying on the bed, but you're doing the action. I like you to fuck me.
You could ride more.
Have we done that at a party? Have I ridden you much? I always blow you.
Yeah, we always do like the porn positions. Yeah, you start off blowing, I eat you out, and then I fuck you.
And then we go to some doggy, and
then I never finish on your face or on you, just because.
No, that's the one thing is you rarely see any cum anywhere at these parties. I know it happens, but I don't really ever recall ever seeing a man cum other than when it's in one of our playtime sessions, not in one of the group settings.
Yeah, in a group setting, I feel like most people want to be considerate. I mean, just like at the gym, you want to wipe down a machine. Yeah. You don't. I mean, your sweat's going to get on things. I mean, we had to.
If I was a man, I would just have this concern of leaving my seed everywhere too.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, if you shoot a load on a bed, it's just gonna soak in. But I don't really care about leaving. I mean, I don't care any more than I care about sweat, really. But you want to be considerate. You don't want to.
Man seed gets women pregnant. I would just have that nervousness. Like, keep my seed with me.
No,
I mean, women need to be.
I guess it could happen,
but it shouldn't be happening.
Transferring, like if you got some on the bed, and the fact that like anybody.
Yeah, and people change the sheets anyway between.
Yeah, but you just want to be considerate. I mean, that's why. I always make sure to finish your mouth like a gentleman should.
As long as I swallow.
So I think that about wraps it up for rules. What do you think?
There's a couple quick points to make, and that's just after you've established your rules, make sure you share them with whatever couples that you're swinging with and be honest about that.
Oh yes,
because you definitely need to share you need to share your rules with who you're swinging with so that they know what's allowed and what's not. Especially if you're playing with a couple that does allow more than you do, and if you're new too, it's good to let people know that, because you just, you don't want them to do something that you're uncomfortable with unknowingly and just have it ruin the night.
And you should tell them, and you should ask them what their rules are as well. That way everybody's on the same page. That way they don't do something that broke a rule and they didn't even know what your rules were to break, and that way, and vice versa, where you don't break a rule, and because that can really easily cause conflict within a couple.
Oh, absolutely.
You wanted to bring up that story that we had with the couple and the woman.
Yeah. Some friends of ours brought up the incident that happened where they were with a soft swap only couple. They happened to be a full swap couple, but they had agreed that they were comfortable and okay with only swapping for that night. And they were playing around with this other couple, having a good time. And the woman just slipped the other guy into her, even though they had already set the ground rules, no swapping, no full swap, no sex. She just put his penis right in her and no condom or anything, just put it right in. And he was immediately threw her off. He was very uncomfortable. She not only broke a rule by inserting him, but she also broke a rule by not using a condom. So, and I don't even think they'd established the condom rule because it was already previously established.
Yeah,
we're not having
it's
sex.
Like you should make a training video like this. Name like a on the job like video, like those videos you see at work. Like, what were all the problems you saw in this video with this
OSHA
interaction?
compliance.
Yeah. What were all the problems here?
Yeah.
Number
Name
one.
all the problems in this
Yeah.
scenario.
But yeah, that's like.
And that leads to the last point that I wanted to make, which is if you haven't explicitly found out the rules or if there wasn't a specific rule that was brought up, always ask for permission. And that should go for everybody, whether you've been swinging forever or if you're new, if you're with people you've been with before or if you're with people you've never been with before, you should always ask permission. And again, this goes to another story that some friends of ours told where a man became really aggressive with her and was trying to make out with her and grab her tits and never asked for permission, just assumed it was an open meat market while she was having sex with her man, and he just went in for the grab and ended up leaving this massive hickey on her, and it was never consensual, that piece of it. So that's not appropriate, and it definitely, things like that, tarnish the swinging a little bit. Thankfully we don't hear that kind of thing very often. But it just, you can never reiterate that enough. It's just ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that does wrap up ground rules, pretty much. So how about we move into some sexy news?
All the American troops pulling out help the situation?
Oh, no. So if you think you want the money shot of them with their arms in the air, you're going to get it. It's in both of their self-interest right now.
You say the money shot?
The money shot, yeah.
And Belinda, I just can't understand how something so small can be so impressive.
Well, Mark, you would know about that.
So this is our segment where we talk about some sex news, sex articles that we've seen in the news that have caught our attention. Typically, we're going to focus on the more obscure news because everybody can see Fox News or things for the big sex scandals that are going on and the big things. So we try to look for the more eclectic sex news that are going on. So I just saw recently that a banned sex manual from Britain is going on sale in
banned, like as in the government says no,
yes.
You cannot publish this
book. It was first published. The first edition was in 1684, and
it's quite an old sex book.
Exactly. It's
what do they know that we don't? Oh, it's raunchy medieval men.
It's going to be sold at an auction by who was that?
The Ultimate Flogger.
It was by Lion and Turnbull. They're an auction house that focuses on antique books and articles, magazines, those types of.
Show me your magic wand, Merlin.
But it was notable for just talking about sex in a more blatant way, and that.
When did it get banned? Is this a recent ban, or is this a ban like as in when it came out? It was banned.
It was banned in.
Like, was it banned during a conservative time?
Okay, let's see here. So the ban was lifted in the 1960s.
Okay.
And I believe it was banned. So it's been banned since the 18th century. Okay. So not right after it got published, but a little after.
So it got published. The medievalins, they had not a word I know. I say it all the time.
Why do you have to say it all the time?
I don't. I make up words all the time. Is what I meant to say. Anyway, they had their fun, raunchy sex, and then the staunchiness set in and said, "No to you raunchy book."
But it was banned all the way up until the 1960s.
Yeah, well, it could also be like there's still laws in effect in the U.S. that are ridiculous that ban sodomy and other acts amongst consenting adults. So it's probably just a matter of somebody had to go through the books and say, "Oh, why is this banned? Let's unban it."
The particular edition that's going to be sold at the auction house was from 1790s. They actually were publishing the book for a while.
I'd be curious to see how much that goes for. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously not a first edition, so not as much as it would be if it were
Still,
an
it's
original.
a few hundred-year-old band sex manual, so there's a few different markets.
I'd love to see those illustrations in it, if they're anatomically correct.
Well, one of the interesting things about the book is that it actually has. I actually haven't seen the book, but I was reading a description that some of the images are kind of weird, and there's hairy children, and I
hope it doesn't have sex with kids, because
no.
I would definitely agree with in the book.
Part of it was that what could happen if you if you have abhorrent sexual activities,
incorrect medical results, incorrect medical advice.
But it's notable for being one of the earliest texts that I'm aware of that I read where it advocates for women to achieve sexual desire in order to conceive. So because
that's still a debate today. If you should orgasm or not when you're trying to make a kid.
It's not orgasm specifically. Well, I mean, I guess it could be orgasm. I mean, because what I was reading just says sexual desire. I'm not sure how it's actually worded.
If that might be what the text says, and it's just being euphemistic.
It's very interesting that was in that text, though, because women's sexuality has been marginalized forever. I mean, just like you said, it's still in debate now.
Well, that's more for medical reasons.
There's still people who believe the female orgasm doesn't exist. Which
there's still people who don't believe that we landed on the moon either. It doesn't mean it's true.
So
I can attest to the fact that the female orgasm does exist. If anyone wants to see it, you are welcome to come over.
But the auction is going on January 16th, so only 2 days from now.
That'll be interesting.
Hopefully
there's follow-up on that.
And then if you're listening to it after Wednesday, I guess, then you can go online and see how much it went for. I'll actually probably check it out and see what it went for.
Yeah, I'm curious.
And then, so the second article that I wanted to bring up is Stephen Hirsch, the co-founder of Vivid Entertainment, the giant porn.
We have some Vivid movies. I enjoy their porn. They make some high quality porn.
They make good stuff. It's of the higher quality. When
more expensive, but I don't mind.
When we want to sit down together versus when we have our individual sessions where we just pull up
Clip Hunter
or something.
Pull up the amateur freak shows.
But he is suing LA County over the new condom law.
Good for him. I stand up for your rights as a filmmaker, and our rights as film watchers.
I
appreciate that. Yeah.
One of his exact quotes is, "We will fight to express ourselves as we please." And
porn is an art form.
He's arguing the First Amendment on that, and so it'll be. Really
I hope that goes as high as it needs to go into court. If it needs to go to the California State Supreme Court or higher, I really hope that justice is served.
And we've already talked
it is right now.
at length about that, which the bill that passed in California. So I think that was in episode 1 or maybe 2, probably 1, when we were talking about that, and it passed on November 16th along with the presidential election and everything else. But he's not happy. A lot of people in the porn industry are unhappy.
I'm not real happy.
We'll see when
we'll see porn.
We'll see when it actually starts
condoms,
to trickle down, and where it actually where the everyday people are starting to see the effects of it, where you're starting to see more condoms. And then another article, it has to do with the more nerdier side of me. I already talked about that, came out a little bit last time with the virtual reality game with the Oculus Rift. The virtual reality headset, where has the sex game that's being developed, which sounds very interesting. But
if that thing can fuck me also, where it's as if I'm, I don't have to do anything, no fingers involved, I'd probably go for it.
You've seen the pictures of the Oculus Rift. It is.
Oh yeah, well you don't want anybody to walk in on you while you're using it, because it's about
the biggest, nerdiest headset thing. But it's supposed to actually be really cool. You're supposed to be able to
fully immersed,
at least fully immersed in terms of your vision, which is something even an IMAX film, which spans a huge portion of what you see, still doesn't fill everything. This fills 100%. Everything that your eyes are seeing is this. So it should be that's cool. But that's not what I want to talk about. It does have to do with CES, the Consumer Electronics Show that happened in Vegas this past week. And I didn't realize it happened last year as well. But the BBC has had a very big issue with the quote unquote booth babes that vendors have to market and and promote their
Bring
stalls.
on the tits. If tits are going to bring men to come look at your consumer products, okay, is it cheap? Yes. Is it not the best marketing way to market your product? Probably not. You want people to come to your booth to see your product. But if you're marketing something new, something off the wall, something crazy that people won't necessarily be attracted to come see because it's not flashy, put the flashy tits in there.
Well,
just keep it.
I mean, it's a product. I don't want to get into.
Keep it covered. Don't show me nips.
I don't want to get into the whole debate, but it is a part of our culture. Sexuality sells, and
Absolutely.
so. But the argument is it degrading?
I could see the argument if it's bringing down the caliber of the show.
Is it degrading or a good marketing strategy?
Yeah. No, I guess for me it depends on if it's a consumer-driven show or if it's a trade-driven show. It depends on the type of people who are really there. Who's the everyday Joe who goes to see this?
It's both.
And so that
CES
I could see up for
both.
debate. I could see that up for debate a little bit. Yep.
But I mean, the Booth Babes debate is not. It's not the BBC that first has brought it up with. But
they have it at comic conventions too.
But all that's funny though. Again, bringing out the nerdy side. This last summer, we went to the C2E2, the Chicago. What does it stand for? Chicago Entertainment Expo. Something about it's like a pop culture show and comic book Comic-Con all mixed into one. Sort of, it's like San Diego, just a little bit smaller than San Diego. But I was disappointed because I kept telling you and a buddy of ours who went like, "Oh, the Booth Babes are going to be there." I was like, "There was no Booth Babes there."
There were very few, and what was there was not the most attractive.
And that's the place you need Booth Babes, where all the comic nerds are walking around. You need all those.
The last thing you need is a bunch of guys with uncontrolled boners walking around.
Oh, well, that's a place where the material truly does speak for itself. People are looking through the bins,
there's a lot of erotic art. I mean, there's a lot of erotic art. If you want to see Marge Simpson banging, you'll see it. If you want to see Lisa Simpson giving a blowjob, you can find somebody who draws it. I mean, and not just cartoon characters. There's just a lot of men who like to draw sexualized women.
Fair, there's legitimate erotica, like comic book erotica.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean, Marge banging isn't that's just it's not.
No, but there's magazines like Cherry, which is a very good comic and it's erotic art.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to table all of this discussion for a little bit because that's actually a topic that we want to have is sex and sequential art and sex and comic books.
Geeky. Get your geek on.
And then, so the last topic that I wanted to bring up, it's not really an article or really news that much, but going along with piggybacking off CES is not piggybacking, but they're hand in hand, is the Adult Entertainment Expo, which is going on next week. And I just wanted to bring that up because it's something that it's a trade show that we want to go to someday. And
it's in Vegas. Come on, who doesn't want to go back to Vegas?
It's like the porn mecca, although it's in January, and we've been to Vegas in January, and it's a little chilly.
Well, that just means more nips cutting glass.
But so the Adult Entertainment Expo is next week, and it's only 3 days. It's not too long, and they have it's a show where they give out the awards. The AVNs are giving out, isn't it? The AVNs are like they have on the last day. Like the AVNs are. Yeah, it's in conjunction with as part of the Adult Entertainment Expo. And actually, I just saw that it's the 30th AVNs. That's actually a long time. I wouldn't have thought.
Congratulations, porn.
Well, I wouldn't have thought that they were having. So that means for
30 years they've been giving out awards for best.
Yeah, I mean in the early '80s that they started doing.
Yeah. Well, when did Ron Jeremy start doing porn? And
I don't know my porn history.
I don't either. We should know our porn history.
We have Deep Throat ready to be watched, and I feel like that's a seminal film that everybody should watch. And
I'm pretty sure a few years ago when we were in town in Vegas for New Year's, I'm pretty sure the AVNs were at the hotel that we stayed at the following weekend. I think we just missed it. How much of a bummer is that?
Well, I mean, we have plans. Well,
they were at our hotel.
It's our intention to, within the next few years, make it to the expo and check it out. They have a lot of seminars as well going on throughout the days, and then novelty. Like it's a big place to see new toys and new everything with the adult industry.
And toys are moving towards the high retail expensive end, and it really makes me interested to see them in person.
Yeah,
it's a new world for toys.
So I just wanted to mention
another episode
to mention that, and I think that's all I got for this segment, for this portion of the show.
All right, well, let's move on to some hot scenes.
Boobs! Boobs, boobs, boobs! Boobs and bush! Boobs and bush! Good boobs.
Those are good ones. We're like 35 seconds in.
Right in
Nice.
the beginning credits.
Credit bush. You never get opening credit bush.
I know, that's so crazy.
So I picked out our hot scene of the week this time around, and it's from Oliver Stone's Savages. It's a recent movie that came out of the theaters not too long ago. And the hot scene from it occurs pretty early on in the movie. The lead actress is Blake Lively, she's attractive. I find her to be hot. She's a little thin in my book for me.
She's a little thin for me, but she's still...
But I still think she's incredibly sexy.
I agree.
There's something about her lips that I think is pretty hot. Even back in the day when she was in The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, she played the sexy one even in that movie, and she was younger then. I think she was still of age, but she was playing a teenager. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, Blake Lively is the female, and then...
Taylor
Kitsch, who is also incredibly attractive, is lead man number 1, and then there's lead man number 2, who is... Help me out with this, Cal.
Oh, it is... Shoot, you put me on the spot, because I thought you're talking about a different scene. I actually thought you were talking about the first scene when it's only Blake Lively and Taylor Kitsch on the couch.
I'm talking about...
Before what's-his-name comes home.
I'm talking about the threesome.
Oh,
well, I mean,
that scene fits more with the show.
I know.
So the plot of the movie is there's a triad relationship that's going on between Blake Lively and two
best friends,
two best friend drug
and
dealers,
they share her.
Taylor Kitsch and I'm not sure he played. Now it's blanking. As soon as we finish the show, I'll remember it was. But he played the lead role in Kick-Ass.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's a scene where she's making out with one, and the other one comes home, and he starts making out with her too, and then before you know it, all three of them they're banging. And basically, the two guys are banging her, and it's hot because both guys are attractive. The woman's attractive. The sex scene's not very long. You're not going to have sex while you're watching it, but
I think
definitely will get you hot. It got me hot. I thought it was maybe just even the triad idea of it in general in the beginning seems pretty hot.
I think a big portion of what really sells it, though, is from a filmic standpoint, it's filmed very well. It's the cinematography, I think, is done very well, and they're having sex in this really luxurious oceanside beach house.
It's awesome,
and the colors are very saturated, and it's just done so well, and the whole scene is just fucking hot.
Yeah, and you can just imagine yourself there, just in this threesome. Hot people, hot bodies, sweaty, young, nakedness, hormonal raging everywhere. It's good.
It's very hot.
it.
You should definitely check it out. It's a good movie.
And to me, it's a better threesome than the threesome from American Psycho, which is a little on the creepy side. This one,
well, we did that one around
this
Halloween
one's on the
time.
hot side.
Yeah, this one's around the hot side. So.
And Savages is a good movie in general. If you just turn it on and watch the sex scene and that's it, okay, that's fine. But you're missing out on a pretty good movie.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's out on Blu-ray now, so yeah, go check it out. It's
at least check out the hot scene.
It's definitely hot.
So I guess that'll wrap us up for episode 6. Please remember to visit iTunes and give us a rating.
Yeah, definitely rate us. We could use some ratings on iTunes. So if you like the show, if you don't like the show, go ahead and rate us anyways. I mean, we just help us. Just
get us some press.
Rate the show. Just let us know what you think, and we'd love to know what the listeners think, ways to improve, what you like. So
please, you email us at swinginaround@gmail.com. No G at the end of swingin'. You can follow us on Twitter at swinginaround, and we primarily use that to announce when new episodes are out. We're not big tweeters.
We know that we need to tweet some more to get a little bit more interactive on Twitter.
And you can visit the blog at swingin-around.blogspot.com. And again, we primarily use that for posting our new episodes. We might occasionally put a short little news piece or something on there too, but we're not bloggers, we're just podcasters.
We should use it more. I mean, I recognize that, but check us
but
out.
The key takeaway is email us. Send us your thoughts, your comments, your questions. We have been getting some listener email, so those of you who are emailing us, thank you so much for sending us your comments and your questions, and we take everything to heart, and we'll respond.
Yeah, keep them coming, and I think after we've got a few built up, enough built up, we'll have a show of some listener questions, answer some of the questions, and
And send us your pictures too, man. We have some hot listeners out there. That gets me going too. There are some hotties listening to our show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to think that people, not that they have yet, but it's cool to think that there potentially people out there are fucking to the show.
Hey, if I've got a sexy voice to fuck to, fuck away.
All right, everyone, stay sexy and stay swinging.